He's Tony, I'm Mike, and we are finally back. Finally, episode 55 of Tony Mike's Watchable Burn. This episode, we're covering 1999's The Virgin Suicides.
All to understand those 5 girls, who after all these years we can't get out of our minds. It didn't matter in the end how old they had been, or that they were girls, but only that we had loved them.
And just based on the title alone, YouTube is going to bury the shit out of this video. So like and share it. We'll appreciate it.
Yes, please, please, please. So this was written and directed by Sophia Coppola, co-produced by her father, Francis Ford Coppola, based on the book by Jeffrey, I'm not going to pronounce his last name, I'll throw it up here, starring James Woods, Kathleen Turner, Kirsten Dunst, Josh Hartnett, Michael, I can't pronounce his name,
Pare, yes.
Makes a cameo appearance in this.
Yes. Scott Glenn, Danny DeVito, Hayden Christensen, Josh Hartnett.
Lot of people in this movie.
Loaded cast. And this was Josh Hartnett's first foray into like a serious dramatic role, because prior to this he had done like The Faculty and got some other movie.
I think The Faculty was after this.
No, it was the year before this.
Was it really before this?
98. Yep.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Well,
it made Josh Hartnett a teen heartthrob back in the day before he showed up playing Trip in all of his 70s suave regalia with his puka shell necklace and his sweet-ass bell-bottom
You know you love the
tuxedo.
puka shell necklace. You're all about it.
I was totally, never had one, but I'm going to say that I knew people that did.
So this takes place in like 1975, apparently in Detroit. Grosse Pointe, I think is the town.
Yes, Grosse Pointe. Yes, exactly.
I'm sure it's probably gonna be in your notes later.
It is in my notes actually.
So anyways, it's Giovanni Ribisi, is that his name?
For
narrates this.
Is that who that is?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I knew the voice. I just didn't see him.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
So anyways, it takes place there, and so it's a recount of that time in 1975 where this group of young men or young kids, boys, whatever, they know these girls, the Lisbons.
Yeah,
I think is what their name
the sisters.
is.
Yeah,
the Lisbon sisters. There's 5 of them, ranging from the age of 13 to 17, and it's just kind of like a recounting of the time from when Cecilia first slits her wrist.
Yeah.
To the time when, spoilers, they all commit suicide in one night.
Yes.
Everyone dates the demise of our neighborhood from the suicides of the Lisbon girls. People saw their clairvoyance in the wiped-out elms, the harsh sunlight. Even then, as teenagers, we tried to put the pieces together. We still can't.
I'm gonna let you have free reign on this one. There's a lot to cover in this thing.
There is a lot to cover here, and it starts off, and we're told this from the perspective of adult men, and this is their recollections of these 5 sisters, and how they were all more beautiful, each one more beautiful than the last. That's how they're described. That their father is a math teacher, and their mom is a disciplinarian zealot weirdo who tries to shelter her daughters in like the most 70s ways possible. And then you have, each daughter has their own personality, but they've been isolated in an attempt to protect them for so long that they've developed this kind of culture of its own. There's the 5 of them and then the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And so the observations of these adult men when they were kids, they're trying to put together what happened, how it happened, and the chain of events that led to all of this. And it's weirdly, it's nostalgia mixed in with unrequited love, mixed in with teen angst and fantasy, and there's so much meat in this film. There's like legitimately It's so strangely relatable, regardless of what time period it's set in. But we start off, and the girls for the first time are allowed to have a party, and they invite.
Well, hang on, we got back up first, so we got to set it up. So we got Cecilia who slits her wrist.
Yes.
What are you doing here, honey? You're not even old enough to know how bad life gets.
Obviously, Doctor, you've never been a 13-year-old girl.
And so the parents are thinking, hey, we got to loosen up our rules a little bit.
Danny DeVito, as the psychologist, actually tells them that they need a socially acceptable way to meet boys.
Yes.
But I think that Cecilia would benefit by having a social outlet outside of the codification of school.
So then they have the party and they invite the local boys over. And this is like, I guess, their first real encounter.
Yes.
With them.
Yes. And it's all the local boys, but like there was no like thought given to the guest list because one of the guests shows up. He's obviously got Down syndrome, and the other boys that are there decide to kind of make sport of making fun of him, of getting him to do these silly and awkward things and sing this song.
Sing your song. Oh, for monkeys have no tears, Sangarenga. Oh, for monkeys have no tears.
And Cecilia decides, I'm out. I don't want any part of this. This is not what I'm here for.
Yeah.
The rest of them are giggling and oh, it's funny. And Cecilia goes upstairs, asks to be excused, says she's not feeling well, and then you hear the father in a panic tone say something, and then the mom goes upstairs, and it turns out Cecilia jumped out the window and landed on the spiked fence, killing herself. Then you have Scott Glenn, who shows up as the priest, and James Woods' character can't even be bothered to discuss what has happened to his daughter.
How about we get the missus down here, have a little chat?
I'm afraid she's under the weather. She's not really seeing anybody.
He has no male children, and he's a complete stranger to these girls. He's their father, yes, and he teaches at the school that they go to, yes, but he knows nothing about women. So he welcomes the boys when they show up, and he bores them to tears with, his airplane models and his, history factoids and all this stuff. But other than that, you don't get a whole lot of emotional attachment to these girls from his character. And I get it, because that's very much a product of its time. But then to boot, the only time that you really see that he has any kind of emotional reaction to his daughter being committing suicide is when they are driving to the funeral or to the cemetery, and he gets out, and there's striking cemetery workers that are standing outside, and he gets out, walks up to one of them, and goes and gets in the car, and you hear two of the funeral workers or the cemetery workers say, "What did he say?" "She was 13. And then they let him in. They let him cross the picket line without being, accosted, anything like that. And the neighbors come together and they decide that they're going to do the family a favor by ripping the fence out. And it's such
funny.
a weird, showy thing. It's one of those, it's a tragedy and we don't want it to happen again, because the priest, Scott Glenn, actually tells, Kathleen Turner's character, the mom, I told the church it was an accident. And so that's why they let the fence be ripped out that has the big metal spikes on it.
And it's quite hilarious because the neighbors there, and they're trying to dig this out and dig us out, and they're failing. So finally, like, hey, dude, just grab the truck. And they hook it up to the truck, and they just rip it the fuck out.
Yeah, no, and I get it. I completely understand. And then we get to see, like, there's that loss, because there's 5 sisters, now there's 4 sisters. The 4 sisters kind of crystallize again.
Bonnie and Therese came to school as though nothing had happened. And we felt that if we kept looking hard enough, we might begin to understand what they were feeling.
And people are trying to offer condolences and trying to find ways to talk to them.
Hi, I'm Chase.
I know who you are. You don't have to talk to me.
And they're very much to themselves. And then finally, because of all this awkwardness, Kirsten Dunst's character is approached by Tripp, and Tripp is like immediately drawn to her, and for the first time, here's a girl that's not just like falling all over herself to hook up with Tripp.
So in the movie, there's this big introduction for Tripp, and it's so masterfully done. They needle drop Magic Man, Heart's Magic Man, and the lyrics and all that stuff, that whole presentation is so well done. It really sets up the character Tripp.
Never seen us so blue, you know I could not run away, it seemed.
I mean, Tripp is banging anything and everything that's on two legs, and they're just throwing themselves at him.
Yes.
So when Tripp, sees Lux and is like, hey, la 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 la, and she's like blows him the fuck off.
Lux?
Hey.
And this floors Tripp's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
My magic powers didn't work. How'd you not instantly just fall to your knees and worship at the Tripp?
Yeah.
So, and that's why he gets like enamored with her.
Yes,
So,
he's absolutely drawn to her for the simple fact that he feels he can't have her.
I didn't know what to do. It was so easy with all the other girls, but she wouldn't look at me.
So he basically, goes out of his way to inject himself everywhere she is at that point. And then once she actually does talk to him, he's like, I'm going to ask, I want to take you to homecoming. And she's like,
A chance.
yeah, that's not going to happen. You're going to have to, get around my parents, and they'll never allow that. And so he goes and he meets with James Wood, who again is looking for, some male companionship. and that's really what Tripp provides, is another man for him to talk to. And he's like,
I'm here to tell you that my intentions for your daughter are entirely honorable.
What might those intentions be?
I want to ask Lux to the homecoming dance.
he goes out of his way to kind of buddy up to James Wood character, but it's all in service of him getting to take Lux out. And she's not allowed to date. She's not allowed to get into cars with boys, anything like that at all. So finally, it's like he plays football. That's a very manly thing to do.
You in the football squad, son?
Yes, sir.
Ah, what position?
Defensive cornerback.
That was a safety in my day.
So he's like, can I take her to homecoming? And the agreement is you can take her to homecoming, but only if all of the sisters go with, and you have dates for all of them, and he okays all of them. And I'm sure there are more rules involved than that.
Yeah.
But then Kathleen Turner decides she's going to make their dresses, and they're all neck to ankle.
Mrs. Lisbon added an inch to the bust line and 2 inches to the waist and hems. And the dresses came out as 4 identical sacks.
They're the least flattering dresses that you could possibly put on for homecoming. But they go to homecoming, and it turns out that Lux is actually a little bit of a bad girl. She smokes, she drinks. The other sisters, not so much. Mm-hmm. But Lux and Tripp decide to go for a walk onto the football field.
Well, hang on.
Well, go ahead.
You're skipping over some good stuff.
I'm not skipping over good stuff. We're going to come back to some of this.
So first, they sneak underneath the
bleachers.
The bleachers on that. And that's when you find out, Lux. Well, actually, there's hints before that, but Lux is open for business.
Yes.
And so they win homecoming king and queen.
Yes.
And after they win, then they sneak on the 50-yard line to have some action on the field.
Yes.
Other than football.
So I was going to say, Lux is de-virginized. Tripp has obviously been here before, and then it's this.
Well, she wakes up. She wakes up on the field alone.
Yeah, I was going to say there's this very cutesy romantic scene between the two of them, and then he bails.
I walked home alone that night. I didn't care how she got home. It was weird. That was the last time I saw her.
He got what he wanted. And he realizes he doesn't think he wants it anymore. And he doesn't say anything to her, doesn't wake her up, nothing. He leaves her laying on the football field in her dress with her tiara laying on the ground next to him. And she has to take a taxi cab home. And when she takes a taxi cab home in the morning, her parents freak the hell out, pull the girls out of school, and basically isolate them.
The girls were taken out of school, and Mrs. Lisbon shut the house in maximum security isolation.
makes them burn all of their albums, and then they realize that burning vinyl in a house is not a great idea, so they decide to put them out for the trash, which is simultaneously hilarious and tragic at the same time. And that's when they start communicating with the boys in the neighborhood, because that's the only access to people that they have. And they start communicating with Morse code using the lamps in their bedroom. And this goes on. And it allows these boys to fill in their own gaps, make up their own stories about all of these girls and who they are without ever actually meeting them. It's kind of an example of one of the first parasocial relationships that I can think of, set all the way back in 1999, because you don't really know them. You get to fill in all the gaps, and you get to keep the fantasy in your head. And so they're like, hey, when our parents go to bed at midnight, come over to the house, and we'll all escape together, and we'll all go away. And they decide that they're going to, take a car and go for a trip, because there was communication of them traveling to exotic locations together as a group.
We got a car. We got a full tank of gas. We'll take you anywhere you want to go.
I'll go wait in the car. You guys wait here for my sisters.
The boys go into the house. They realize that all the girls had killed themselves, and then Kirsten Dunst goes out into the garage and starts up the car and smothers herself with carbon monoxide. And yeah, there's no way YouTube's going to promote this video. And the thing is the coda to this, mom and dad just pack up and leave. They know that there's no chance of them having a normal life in this suburbia ever again.
After the suicide free-for-all, Mr. and Mrs. Lisbon gave up any attempt to lead a normal life.
People know who they are, and they're never going to forget that this tragedy happened. Losing one daughter that did it to herself, that's one thing, but losing all of your daughters, that's kind of something beyond. And then the funny thing about this film is that because it's told from the perspective of these guys that didn't really know them, but they do know their neighbors, and they do associate with all these people in the neighborhood. And rather than it being the tragedy that they all come together and try to do something nice for the family, everybody tries to ignore the fact that it ever happened.
Our parents seemed better able to do this, returning to their tennis foursomes and cocktail cruises as though they'd seen this all before.
Or they make fun of it. And there's that whole bit at the debutante ball where there's that guy that's like, oh, I'm a teenager and my life's so rough.
I've had it. You like cruel world?
And he gets out and they're all, the whole people there are grinning, and the boys see this and they're like, yeah, I'm out of here. All right, we're gone. This movie it's a hard watch. It's incredibly magnificently done character piece. It's so good that it's hard for me to realize that this is Sophia Coppola's first film that she ever directed.
Yep.
It's so competently done, and purposefully done. And it takes someone like Sophia Coppola, because her father's very famous, Francis Ford Coppola. Yeah, you know exactly who he is, blah, blah, blah. And he famously made the miscalculation of sticking her in The Godfather 3 because she was going to be an actress. Well, it turns out, no, she's not much of an actress, but she's a hell of a director.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is a magnificent director.
Yeah.
And
the casting in this is great.
Yes.
I love James Woods' performance in this because it's very anti-James Woods.
Yes.
Because James Woods always plays like a hard ass or a scumbag,
a guy that's
or
in
something
control.
Like that. Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole thing.
Yes.
His character is always, he's got his finger on the pulse of everything that's going on, and he's in the know, and he knows this and he knows that. And in this one, he's completely fucking oblivious. He lives in a house with 6 strangers. His wife is included in that list. He doesn't understand women. He doesn't understand anything about them, and he doesn't want to know. And so he's looking for male companionship all the time.
Imagine what it'd be like when the clouds would open up and out of the sun would come the Hun and his Messerschmitt coming down. And boys, I swear, 2 or 3 years older than you.
Even, the neighbor guys, the neighbor dads think he's a weird one.
Yeah.
So
it's very subtle, subdued. And that's a strange thing to say about James Woods' performance.
Yes.
So I love this as a strange choice in casting, but brilliant choice in casting. Kathleen Turner is Kathleen Turner.
No, I disagree. Kathleen Turner, this was 1999. So she was like, Romancing the Stone was like the early 90s, and then there was Jewel of the Nile?
No, Romancing the Stone's like mid to late 80s.
Yeah. And Kathleen Turner was like, the sex pot, the good-looking woman that doesn't realize it, or she was the, if you saw her in Body Heat, she's the seductress, and she did a lot of either she's.
Well, that's early Kathleen Turner. As she aged out of those roles, she did more mom adult type of things. So to me, this is very Kathleen Turner, especially her performance, because she really cranks up those performances. They're not hammy.
No.
But they ride that edge. I'm not saying she's a bad actress. She's a great actress, but this is like very consistent for me for like what a Kathleen performance
she
is.
did this movie because she was in Peggy Sue Got Married, which was a Francis Ford Coppola joint, and so because she found out Francis Ford Coppola was producing this, that's why she decided she wanted to be in it. But I feel like it's not like her normal character, because I love her in Serial Mom and all that shit. When Kathleen Turner decides to do comedy, she does dark comedy. But in this film, she must have known some of these kinds of parents, because she nails it. Again, it's a very authentic portrayal of that super controlling and overly protective parent that is looking out for her 5 beautiful daughters because she doesn't want anything to happen to them, but at the same time, she's the cause of everything that happens to them.
None of my daughters lacked for any love. There was plenty of love in our house. I never understood why.
But then you hear the other moms in the neighborhood, and they're talking about how tragic the interior design of their house is.
Everyone had an opinion as to why Cecilia tried to kill herself.
That girl didn't want to die. She just wanted out of that house. She wanted out of that decorating scheme.
It nails it. It gets it all so right. That condescending, keeping up with the Joneses. Oh, well, this isn't important to her. Oh, well, she's a big nobody.
Getting back to the acting, the girl that plays Cecilia, even though she's only in it for a brief amount of time, really nails that too. You look at this poor girl, and you could just feel that something's just eating at her. You don't know what the hell it is, and maybe she don't really know what the hell it is, but you can just tell she's like this. My life sucks. This fucking sucks.
She's an old soul, and because she doesn't have any social interaction. The majority of what she does interact with is either television or books, and the books that she's reading is all about basically how the trees are dying, and the tree in the front of her house is dying, and this is just eating away at her the whole time, and it's beautifully handled. And they find the diary and like all the, my sisters are so concerned with all this inane shit that doesn't really matter. And
Lux lost it over Kevin Haynes, the garbage man. She'd wake up at 5 in the morning and hang out casually on the front steps, like it wasn't completely obvious.
It's so well handled. Everything about this, nobody feels like a caricature. Nobody feels like there's a shortcut. Everybody feels lived in. Everybody feels very genuine. There's multiple layers to almost all of these characters.
So that's where I'm going to disagree with you. But we'll get to that in a second, because before that I want to talk about, finish talking about the acting. Kirsten Dunst destroys in this movie.
Yes.
It's just a cougar, but it's got a pretty big trunk.
Can I sit up front?
Sure.
Which one of you is gonna sit up front next to me?
Everything that girl does in that short amount of time frame, from Interview with the Vampire to up until Bring It On, everything she does in that span is so well done, especially these types of movies.
She brings a richness and a texture, and her, for someone that young to be able to give that nuanced a performance is stunning. I mean, legitimately, she's not talked about often enough.
No, and it's a crime.
It really
is. She deserves a nice, fat, juicy role to really resurrect her career. Now, she did do a season of Fargo.
Yeah.
Which you haven't seen Fargo, it was a great show. It's kind of run its course. But that season with her is really good.
I was going to say, Lars von Trier had her in Melancholia, and I loved her in that. What did we watch with her recently? Oh, Civil War, where she's the reporter.
Okay.
It's not at all what I thought it was going to be going in, but she's a reporter and she's covering everything that's going on and she's following the story wherever it leads, and it's spectacularly good. And again, her performance is so well informed. It's so grounded and real. It's real easy to forget that she's acting in a lot of this stuff. This is special. I mean, even going back to Interview with a Vampire, the fact that she's on screen with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt.
And stealing scenes.
Yes.
And straight up stealing scenes.
Yes. And she's spectacular in that. So I don't know where it comes from. I want to say prodigy, because when you're that young and you're giving that hardcore of a performance, there's no other word for it, because it's not learned. It's innate. It's something she just gets.
Yeah.
How to not be Kirsten Dunst and bring it to film. It's spectacular how good it is.
And then Josh Hartnett delivers in this movie as well, and that's one of the best performances by him.
Josh Hartnett has a library of great performances. I'm a big fan of his, and this is no exception. But it's just, the acting in this is spectacularly good. The directing, again, it's so hard to remember that this is so many of these people's first big acting job, or first starring role, or first
or very
directorial debut.
Career,
I mean, to get this level of talent and to be able to detect this level of talent with all of these young performers, and to get those performances out of them, really does speak to her caliber of directing.
So to step back to a comment you made earlier, that everybody's detailed and stuff like that, this is where I'm going to disagree with you. The boys that are talking about the story, that are narrating the story, they don't have a whole lot of screen time, and there's not much development of those. Like the boys in general, really, other than Josh Hartnett, you get little slivers of some of these characters. So not a whole lot. So I was kind of bummed, looking back on it, that you didn't get to spend more time with the boys and kind of get their interactions and them talking about the girls and stuff like that. Because it's really only from one of those kids' perspectives. The guy that's narrating it, who I don't think they ever say which one of the boys he is in the movie.
I don't think they do. I'm not positive, but I know that I think you could figure it out, because he names his friends, his other. Billy did this, or Bob. Yeah, but if you were that familiar with the material, you could most definitely suss out which one it was. But what I appreciate about that is that this is that guy as an adult telling the story about these girls, and he remembers that this story is about those girls.
We're going over the evidence one more time, all to understand those 5 girls who, after all these years, we can't get out of our minds.
And specifically, it's not that he even knew those girls. It's his impression of them. So it's very dreamy. It's very stylized. It's very romanticized.
Yes, and that's one thing I liked about this, because this whole entire film feels very dreamlike and very surreal. So. Yes, I love that she nailed that aspect of, yes, these are like I said, the romanticized, the memories of a childhood. I'm trying to remember as happy as I can, even though it's such a bleak situation. The whole thing just ended in total tragedy, but yet I can still think of all the good. And, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess just the beauty of those girls, other than their...
We knew that the girls were really women in disguise, that they understood love and even death, and that our job was merely to create the noise that seemed to fascinate them.
If they were average girls, if they were approachable, if they were even available, the fact that they were isolated and all beautiful is kind of what leads to this revelation.
It's like the princess locked in the tower, except for there's 5 of them.
That's exactly what it is. Legitimately, they get to fill in all the blanks. They don't have to actually get to know any of these girls, so they get to fill in all of those blanks. It's very much when you're young and you have that first crush and you see this person, it's all about their physical appearance, how they look, how they dress, how they carry themselves, all that. But you don't know shit about that person as a person.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that they actually shined a really bright light on that we didn't know these girls. We had all these shared fantasies.
We ordered the same catalog. And flipping through the pages, we hiked through dusty passes with the girl. We drank tea with them in a water pavilion. We did whatever we wanted.
But at the end of the day, we never had a conversation about it. We would call each other on the phone and play songs that evoked, a certain feeling or had the right lyrics and all this, rather than talk to them. Just have a conversation with them. It was safer than to borrow somebody else's words or music or lyrics or pictures or whatever to interact with them, because they were so pretty, they scared them off.
Doesn't anybody stay in one place anymore?
So I love that. I also love the fact that there's that detail that Trip, I don't know what it was about that girl. She kind of drove me crazy. I've never known a love like that since then. And I'm thinking, you're kind of the thing that caused all of this whole tragedy. And then you find out that he's waiting for his AA meeting to start because he's become an alcoholic. And I thought, that again, here's this person who, because he has this giant ego that's been fed well by all the girls in the area, and he grew up thinking that he was, king shit, that now that he actually has a chance to reflect on it and his good looks aren't going to get him by because he caused this tragedy and everyone knows that he was involved one way or another, his reputation took a hit, but you don't get to see any of that. You just get to hear his brief little, oh yeah, well, she drove me crazy and blah, blah, blah. But then you get to see the fallout of, so he's drinking himself, he's self-medicating to not have to think about it.
Most people will never taste that kind of love. But at least I tasted it once, right?
It's time for your 6 o'clock group meeting.
It's one of those little details that I really loved.
It was great casting to have Michael Pare in that role. I mean, it was like, yes, I could picture that as the older version of Trip.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. He looks right.
Yeah.
He speaks right.
Yeah.
He's got the right manners. You can tell he grew up being handsome, and he has not aged as gracefully. And he's got all that baggage.
Well, age gracefully in that department. I was gonna say, like, he's still a very handsome man.
No, absolutely. But not his glory years. He's
he's past his prime.
Yes, absolutely. But no, this is a magnificent film. I should be talked about a hell of a lot more.
And that's the strange thing about this. Like, it came out, and like I heard stuff about this movie, and I remember watching it when it came to video, like not too long after it was released, and I haven't heard anybody talk about it since.
Part of the reason you don't hear a whole lot about this movie anymore is the subject matter. It's delicate. There's no other way to put it. And I think some people might feel that this might have romanticized self-harm a little bit on that one, but at the same time, I think that's a fundamental misunderstanding of the film. I think that's people looking at the title and the story without looking at the context of it. Because the context of this film is, socially awkward family with beautiful daughters and the reaction of the people that knew them but didn't know them.
Yeah.
I feel sorriest for the mother. I know. You would always wonder if there was something you could have done. Well, I gotta go. See you later. All right, then.
And that's kind of the genius of this film. I have very few notes on this one. This had a budget of $9 million. So this is not a big budget film at all. It was a limited release film. It was only released in like Los Angeles and New York and big cities, Chicago, blah, 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 blah. It made $10.4 million. So it made its money back.
And from a limited release, that's pretty damn impressive.
That's a very limited release. It was only in theaters for like a month and a half, 2 months, and then it was intended for the video market because this is Sophia Coppola. It's her first film. She's a nobody.
Well, they fucking missed out.
Yes.
I mean, if you made your money back in such a limited release, why would you not have a national release? That baffles me.
All I can tell you is that in 1999, it used to be that a movie would come out and then 6 months later, you would get it on DVD or VHS or whatever, and this had its limited release, and then by the end of that year, it was out on home media because they intentionally, I think it just turned out better than what they were hoping. They here's $9 million, which isn't a whole lot. Go to make your little movie, Sophia, and we'll try to, cash in on this as your first movie and Francis Ford Coppola's daughter and blah, 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 blah. And it just turned out that no, she turned in this super poignant, completely well-crafted film that is super engaging and immensely watchable. I don't know.
Which still baffles me why I didn't get a large release then. Or at least Oscar bait. I mean, because this is very much like a Oscar bait movie for today.
Well,
and normally that's an insult coming out of my mouth, but in this case, it's not, because I really do love this movie.
I'm gonna say that this was originally, they'd sold the rights to the book to another studio, and they had a screenplay that had been written, and it was being shopped around, and they could not get any interest, and then the rights lapsed on it. And that's when Sophia Coppola popped up because she was a fan of the book, and she had actually already written a treatment of it, how she would approach this if she was going to make this as a movie. So she didn't set out to be a director. She just happened to fall in love with this book and this story, and she decided, well, if someone's going to do it, I'm going to do it so I know it gets done right.
Yeah.
So I love that aspect of it, but then the fact that she was able to, yeah, it's a bit Nepo baby because she did leverage the fact that her dad is Francis Ford Coppola to get a lot of the talent and all that. But at the end of the day, we really did get a spectacularly talented director out of this, and she's still turning out really watchable, character-driven films that are told from a unique perspective. So these are the kind of films that it takes a woman to make a film like this because they understand how nebulous they are to us.
We knew that they knew everything about us, and that we couldn't fathom them at all.
And you have to have experienced that firsthand to be able to show it visually. And that's exactly what she does here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I can't recommend this movie enough. Watch it. Like, as soon as you're done watching this, sorry for the spoilers. I mean, but then again, it kind of is in the title, Virgin Suicide, so there's that. Even though Kirsten Dunst didn't die a virgin.
I'm going to say that I don't feel we gave anything away because this movie, plot-wise, the story's there, yes, absolutely. But this is a character study, and this is every bit as much about the Lisbon sisters as it is about the four friends that are actually telling this story. So,
well, it's all about the Lisbon sisters. Like I said, they don't hardly touch on the boys. As I said, it's my only critique on the film.
Their perception of the Lisbon sisters, I guess, is how I should have phrased that. But yeah, no, this is all about the trip. This is all about the watch. It's a spectacularly...
All about Trip Fontaine, the Magic Man.
I'm sorry. It's a spectacularly captivating film. And 1999 was a loaded year for movies because we got The Matrix and we got The Phantom Menace, which everybody remembers that one. But yeah, so it was real easy for this movie to get buried under an avalanche of so many really good films that came out.
I forget what a phenomenon The Phantom Menace was. I mean, it took over the fucking world.
It took over every damn movie theater on the planet. I mean, like if they had 20 screens, 16 of them were showing The Phantom Menace. So for the Virgin Suicides to have made its money back is nothing short of a miracle when everybody's running away from, the big Star Wars movie. So
and The Matrix. So yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, good
exactly.
point. I forgot how monolithic both those movies were.
Anything else? Anything?
No. Like I said, rent it, watch it, buy it. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah.
This is a buy all day long. If you're a cinephile, this must be in your movie collection. No two ways about it. Don't settle for streaming rental. Buy this shit. You need this in 4K. You need this on the best quality format you can afford. Period.
What is age appropriate for this movie?
Oh, age appropriate? Older teens. If you're sensitive about the subject matter, avoid it at all costs, by all means. But
No. Don't avoid it. Don't avoid it, because this is probably the best way you could show this type of material and still be a soft delivery. I mean, this is the softest delivery you can give for this type of material.
Yeah, but
only
if you're sensitive to the subject matter. But
I would probably be hesitant to show anybody under 15. I think
No, they need to be older teens. They need to, I would say 16, 17, because they're going to be able, first off, they're going to recognize themselves in a lot of the characters in this. But second off, they're also going to the message of this is going to be delivered to the audience I think it's intended for.
I'm going to say 13. I'm going to stick by that, because the first girl that was
the character is 13, but she's an old soul. So,
but it doesn't matter. There's other 13-year-olds out there that could be having these thoughts.
What are you doing here, honey? You're not even old enough to know how bad life gets.
Obviously, Doctor, you've never been a 13-year-old girl.
Buy it. And please, again, because of the subject matter, we know this video is going to be fucking buried. So like it, share it, subscribe, all that good stuff. We greatly appreciate it, because we really do want to talk about these kind of movies.
Yeah.
But if no one sees them, what's the point? So,
Exactly.
Anything else?
That's what I got, sir.
We will catch you next time.